Tuesday's final hour means Olin Buchanan, and it's a special treat today. Olin is live at SEC Media Days, and he still said, yeah, why not? I'll hang out with you. That is the dude Olin is. My brother, how's your world?
You know what, Lou? Right now, I'm outside of the Marriott Waterford, or Water Street, I should say, hotel, and I'm looking. I'm probably about 50 yards away, looking down on the river that goes through Tampa. They have their own version of the river walk with a bunch of yachts that are docked right in front of me. So a nice warm day, and when I go inside, I'm talking college football. So I would say I'm living a pretty good life today.
That's pretty epic. I'm sorry. When you're sitting there just looking at all the yachts and the water, sounds a little calm and peaceful amidst what early on is anyway kind of like a storm. Everybody's got all the energy. Coaches are fired up and even the media there, at least day 1.5 are pretty fired up. It's day 3 that people tend to get fatigued, but not an option for the Aggie contingent. Elko and players going to make their way tomorrow. When I had you last Tuesday, I asked you what you kind of wanted to ask. Now that you've had a week and now you're there, has that been revised, refined? Have you thought about it a little bit more?
Well, not a whole lot, because not a lot has changed then. I saw that in Houston, I think it was last night or the night before.
Yep, the A&M Houston Club night with Elko.
Yeah, Mike Elko said that he thought this was the best secondary that they've had, that he's ever had at A&M. So
all 7 years, not just head coach. He said as coordinator too, right?
Right, and there was a couple of NFL or 2 or 3 NFL players in some of those secondaries, like David Jones and Devontae Richardson. Seems like there was another one that escapes me right now. But so you might want to delve into that a little bit more and talk about what he's seen from Marcel, and how a guy like Isaiah Horton might further benefit Marcel. Then there's the uncomfortable things about, hey, do you feel like that y'all have made progress in figuring out how to put it into those misfits that lead to the long runs that have been such a problem? And again, it's still 4 new offensive linemen. I asked him about, if he saw what he wanted to see from the line in the spring. I asked him that when I was in Denton about 6 weeks ago. I'm sure more questions about the offensive line will come up. It'll be interesting to see how he responds, because I don't know what else he would have seen between now and then.
Olin, am I looking at things wrong? I have way more questions about the D-line than I do the O-line.
Yeah, I think so. I think the D-line, DJ Hicks wasn't per se a starter, but he played enough to have almost starting minutes, and TJ Searcy is back, and he started at that strong side defensive end. So, that's half. And then they brought in, the guy from North Carolina, C.J. Mims, the guy from Colorado, and I really liked a lot what I saw from Shane Green. I think DJ Sanders is going to be ready to play this year. So I'm actually very, very optimistic about A&M's interior defensive line. And, of course, they got to come up with a pass rusher off the edge to replace Cassius Howell. But I do think that Anto Saka and Marco Jones both have a world of potential. Potential means you haven't done it yet, but the ability's there. And remember, before last year, I think Cassius only had 4 sacks in a backup role in 2024. So maybe one of those guys are going to step up. And I'm not saying go ahead and be SEC Defensive Player of the Year, but
I say go ahead and do it, though. I'm not going to limit them. If somebody wants to, I say go for it.
At this point, I would going into the season, I would settle for ease that loss, where it's, you understand maybe you don't have as much production, but you don't just fall off a cliff.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I know everything you said of the potential, but it's hard when not one guy is a hard fact.
Yeah, but I just feel like I've seen more from some of those guys than I've seen from the offensive linemen that they brought in.
Well, that's fair. It's so rough, though. With the offensive linemen, you look at the credentials of the guys they brought in. They've all started in the SEC. They've all started more than one game. You know, their potential side is really high, too. One thing that's beautiful, when I think about both lines of scrimmage, I think about who's coaching them all offseason. And when you got Elijah Robinson and Adam Cushing, don't you feel good about this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I hear people, for instance, from Alabama here, some media from Alabama come talk to me and ask me about that O-line. And then I think what they really want to do is tell me they were disappointed with Wilkin Formby last year.
Well, they did have to convert him down to guard. Because he didn't get it done by their standards at tackle. I understand that, but a year later, more experience, Adam Cushing. I have my reasons for confidence.
Absolutely, that's what I was getting at. Just because something didn't go a certain way, there can be all kinds of factors. I'm not trying to come up with excuses for anybody. I'm just saying I'm going to keep an open mind because if the guy didn't have ability, he wouldn't have been at Alabama anyway. And then you got a guy like Adam Cushing come and coach him. And by the way, Mike Elko, who I think has a really good eye for talent, I think he's proven that over and over again. He said that he thinks he sees a lot of Trey Zoom qualities in Wilkin Formby. So that gives me some optimism. Now, I always say until I see that offensive line, that's just one guy. There's going to be 4 new starters. Until I see it with my own eyes, I have a certain amount of apprehension. I think most of us would.
And it's weird, though. I don't have tension, not with the O-line. That's the confidence I have in coach. I don't have tension with them. With the defensive side, when you already have the big question mark right in the dead middle hole of the field at linebacker, and you know you have this elite secondary, but if the D-line's not elite, your secondary's not elite, they're kind of interconnected that way. That's why I think I have more, it's not tension. I'm not losing sleep. But that's why I'm more concerned about the D-line than the O-line because of how essential that D-line is to, we'll say, several other things.
Well, in my opinion, and what that's worth.
2 pancakes and a waffle.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth one of these yachts out here. But in my opinion, the offensive line is going to be the key between an 8-4 team and a 10-2 team.
I could see that. Okay, it's weird you state it that way because, I've got 4 or 5 factors. Because, okay, O-line, if they're good, then we unlock the wide receiving core. We unlock Marcel Reed. And I think if those 2 things unlock, I'm not worried about the running game. So I get what you're saying. If the D-line doesn't work, you then lessen your secondary, and you're going to be in trouble at linebacker. Okay, so look at it this way. If you play along with my story here, my thoughts in my head, do you think the offense will be good enough to win enough shootouts to hit 10 wins?
If that offensive line is what I think it is, yeah, because I think that A&M is going to be just as explosive and maybe even more so. And I know that sounds ridiculous without Casey Concepcion, but the reason how come I say that is I think Ruben Owens is an explosive running back. I think Jamari Morrow's ready to make a bigger contribution. Mario Craver's one of the most explosive receivers in the country. Isaiah Horton brings an element that A&M did not have with a big receiver, at the X receiver or the split end, whatever you want to call it. And then I think Ashton Bethel-Roman is a whole lot better player than a lot of people realize, and he came on strong at the end of last season. And I think he's an exciting guy, too. So I think they're very explosive. If the offensive line holds up, I think you're seeing one of the more explosive teams in the SEC. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a Coast Guard helicopter just went overhead. So if you heard that racket, that's what that was. But anyway, I feel like
are the cops chasing you?
Not me, but they might be looking for somebody. But anyway, I think if the offensive line is there, and I don't even think it has to be as good as it was last year, but I think if the offensive line is effective, I think this is every bit as explosive an offense, if not more, than it was last year.
Which I'm good with, but I want a more consistent offense than last year. That's one of the things I'm looking for. Explosive is great, but you need more than just explosive. I don't want an offense that can disappear for a couple of quarters in a row or even a whole quarter, to be honest.
Yeah, Right. We all want that second half versus South Carolina offense. And we never want to see the, I guess, second half versus Miami offense, even though that, Miami had a lot to do with that. But you're supposed to be good against the good teams too. But I think you're going to, if the offensive line is effective, I think you're going to see a better Marcel Reed, and I think you'll see even a better Reuben Owens.
The Reuben Owens conversation pops up quite a bit. I personally have no clue what to expect from him because we know he's talented. I don't know how talented, to be fair with you. And with the O-line being a question mark, I don't know if they're going to move people. I mean, with so many question marks, I have zero expectation of the run game, but not in a negative way. It's not because I think they're doomed or anything. I just truly, honestly, don't know what to expect out of the run game.
Well, I know that Reuben has the ability to make big plays. We've seen that. He catches the ball well out of the backfield. We're going to talk about the running game. We saw him have 2 long runs against Missouri. There were some other long runs, but he has explosive ability himself. The biggest question on Reuben, I think, is, does he have that? Can he run with power? If that was one of the great things about Le'Veon Moss. You can get down on the goal line. We've seen how many times in the past that A&M was thwarted on 4th and short. Well, they get down on the goal line against like Notre Dame defense, and he scores 3 1-yard touchdown runs. Well, most people say, well, big deal, it's a 1-yard touchdown run. I'm like, yeah, this is a team that hadn't always been able to convert those short yard situations. We had a guy that could, and I think that's the biggest question about Reuben is he going to be that guy that can pick up the tough yards? Because I know he can get the big plays.
Have you had a chance to study the running back stable? Because looking at the 3 deep, I find them fascinating as a unit.
Well, I figure Morrow will probably be the number 1 backup. We got a very small sample size from him last year, but I like what I saw. Good hands. He hits out back up, and he's explosive. I remember that touchdown run against LSU.
Yep.
Where he spun. Now maybe LSU was quitting a little bit, but maybe he was making them quit, right? So I see that. I think Tiger Ryden runs hard with some power. And, if you get all the way down to the high school kid, the freshman kid, KJ Edwards, now I've only seen him compete in high school, obviously, but good gosh, is that guy just a lightning bolt. So I think, obviously, you're hoping that everybody remains healthy and you don't have to worry about it. But sure, there's some unknowns there, but there's some good unknowns. Like, it's not like you're looking at these guys and say, I don't even know if they can play.
No.
These guys can play.
No, they can play. I keep hearing Tiger Wright and I don't know. It's one of those things. That's the offseason where I keep hearing too much, maybe about too many different people. But I hear they have some really nice depth in the running back room. And you do hit a point where if your starters are doing their job, you don't want to hear about the depth, do you?
Well, it didn't seem to me that Elko was too aggressive in the transfer portal at running back.
Right, which is a huge sign and indicator. Huge. Because if they would have went out and got a running back, you would have went there and go, oh, they're not happy with the room. If they had to add one more at this point, right?
And I remember there might have been somebody they looked in on and things like that, but I just don't think, it's probably one of those deals where guys say, yeah, but I'm going to have to make that. I'm going to have to get paid this much. And they probably say, well, you know what? We're pretty good with what we got.
You need to get paid that much. Good, but not here. Good for you. Because maybe they were thinking of just even more depth, but they're happy with the guys at the top end of the depth chart.
Yeah, if you needed that guy, you probably say, okay, well, let's see if we can't work this thing out. But all that, I don't know what the conversation is like, but it just strikes me that, Elko, when he sees a need, he goes out and fills it. Like, I need a big receiver. I'm going to go get one. I need some defensive linemen. I'm going to need some offensive linemen. I'm going to go out and get 4. And he was. It seems like he was somewhat content to stand pat at running back.
What do you mean you don't know what the conversation is like? I figure Elko called you to check and see what you thought about it.
No, that's Lucci and Ryan Broniger that he checked with.
It's good to know that Elko has TexAgs on his quick dial. It really is. That warms my heart right now.
Well, who doesn't?
We'll be right back. How about we take a time out and you let me regroup from all that new data and info.
Okay.
Olin Buchanan hanging out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. I need a moment. If you need to get your land cleared, land fixed, land excavated, d4landservices.com. Forestry, mulching, pond construction, go to d4landservices.com. When we return, Olin Buchanan, more. Live from SEC Media Days. It's the Louis Bellina Show on the Zone.
The Money Machine Back to School. It's your chance to win $5,000. And it starts July 27th.
Thank you so much.
It is the Louis Bellina Show presented by CC Electric, built on faith, family, and community. That's CC Electric. It's the Louis Bellina Show. And, Tuesday's final hour, we hang out with Olin even when he's hanging out with yachts in Tampa, or as we call it, SEC Media Days. Olin, I got a text message for you.
Okay.
We go to the Texas Mobile One Lube Express inbox. Texas Mobile One Lube Express, where they say be good to your car, and your car will be good to you. How do you be good to your car? You take it to Texas Mobile One Lube Express, and it reads from Tony Montoya. OB, I like your attitude. I didn't know you were having attitude. I thought you were just being OB.
Well, I can be kind of a crusty. Gabe used to call me a crusty curmudgeon. I can be, that old grouchy old man, but I think you can also step back and consider your situation. And like I said, I'm out here in this tropical paradise, looking down on these beautiful boats and this nice big river that's about 2 or 3 times wider than Brazos, and all these beautiful hotels surrounding it, and thinking, man, I'm getting paid to be here. And when I'm working, I'm just talking about college football and writing about it. Man, that's winning in life right there. So yeah, if you can't have a good attitude doing this today, doing what I do today, I just don't know. You may be a lost cause.
What's a curmudgeon? Isn't that just an old dude, or is it a? I think I have the visual in my head, but what actually is a curmudgeon?
Yeah, I think it's somebody, typically an old dude, but also you got to throw in the grouchy part, right?
Okay, a grouchy old dude, right?
Yeah, I think that would be a curmudgeon, grouchy old dude.
You're not grouchy. You tend to just have a good one-liner and a healthy attitude towards life.
I swing between optimistic guy and grouch.
I know I wouldn't walk on your lawn. I mean, if we're doing a survey thing, I know that much is true.
No, you Louis, you have the right. You can walk on my lawn. I don't even know if you know where I live, but if you find it and walk on the lawn, you're allowed.
Okay, if I find your lawn on Google Maps, I'll walk on your lawn. Question.
It's a short walk, by the way.
It's not a big lawn?
No, it's not a big lawn, so it'd be a short walk.
Billy's dog has walked all over your lawn many times.
Yeah, he played with my old dog. Unfortunately, we had to put him down. But, yeah, they were buddies.
Oh, that's awesome. Friends playing together. A question of the entertainment variety here. What position Texas A&M has been talked about the least this offseason since the offseason officially ended with SEC Media Days? I know my answer, but I'm going to give you a shot at it.
Talked about the least.
Yeah. I know what it is.
Tight end?
There you go. Think about it. Tight end gets mentioned 0.1% compared to every other positional unit.
Yeah, because, Bocature and Theo, they were good.
Second round pick, if I'm not mistaken, right? Nate Bocature?
Yeah, but that we all agree that was surprising. But I guess what I'm getting at is it wasn't like he lost Jay Sternberger based on the production, right? You lost a good player without a doubt that did great things for you. So I'll be the first to admit I wasn't surprised he was drafted, but I was surprised he was drafted in the second round. And then you say the guys he brought in, it's not like, both Richie Anderson from Fresno and I know Houston Thomas, and he was really good at UTSA. both those are really good players, but it's not like getting a guy that everybody knew was, potential All-American or put up huge numbers from that position. So, yeah, I think it's just there's so many other positions that you have to, I don't know if concern's the right word, but you have questions about, and then others that you, like quarterback, where you know what you've got, but you wonder, can it get better? Tight end was just that position that you almost, to your point, you almost forget about it. And I think the two guys they brought in are good players. And I believe, at least from a catch the ball and do something with it standpoint, I think A&M will be better at tight end in that vein. I don't know if they'll block from the tight end position as well as they did last year. But I think in terms of if I have somebody that can make a bigger impact in the passing game at tight end than I had last year, I would say the answer is yes.
One of the things for me that I feel like it doesn't matter the type of offense you have in the SEC, whether you're doing double tight, whether you're doing a Lane Kiffin, something that differentiates the good and the very good from the elite is a tight end. And it hasn't mattered the offensive system.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you have a good tight end, you really cause all kinds of problems. I think some of A&M's best teams, they've had good tight ends. Not all of them, because someone's first team they barely, or any of his teams, they barely used the tight end. But Sternberger, Weidemeyer, those guys were integral parts of really good teams. If you go back to the R.C. Slocum days, they had some really good tight ends like Greg Shorp and Hayward Clay, and some guys like that. I think probably the best team under Franchione had Marcellus Bennett. So, but if you have a good tight end, hey. Nick Saban always made sure he had a good tight end. If you have a good tight end, that can really be problematic. I think when Jimbo Fisher won his national championship at Florida State, I can't remember the kid's name, Nick, but he was Jack Nicklaus's grandson. He was an All-American tight end. So, yeah, that's a position because it always creates mismatches.
It's just hard to account for the tight end at all times. He's like the easiest guy to get lost. And you got to guard the middle of the field when you have a tight end, and it's the biggest space to cover. It's basic stuff like that.
Yeah, and I haven't seen as much of Richie Anderson, but I've seen a lot of Houston Thomas, and he can catch it and run with it. I'm sure Richie can too, but I've seen a lot of tight ends. They'll catch it, but the play typically ends pretty close to where they catch it. Houston is a guy that I've seen catch it and run with it. So, I think from a purely receiving standpoint, I think they may have upgraded. I don't know. They're going to have to prove that they can block to the same degree. But you know what? Maybe the big kid from Jasper, for some reason, I am blanking. I'm having one of those senior moments. He's like 6'7", 270, and they've been waiting on him, and maybe this is the year that he emerges. Oh, why can't I think of that young man's name? He's a big old boy from Jasper. It needs to be his third season. So I know they have a lot of high hopes for him just breaking out. If he does, he could be pretty special.
It's not Kyoto Armstrong?
That's exactly who it is.
That's okay. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I saw him at a barbecue restaurant at lunch one time about 5 or 6 months ago. And I knew he was a big guy, but he was even bigger than I thought.
You confirmed he was a big guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if they can get him, and he's very athletic, if it all comes together for him, then then they could be really special at that position.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. We haven't talked about it. Doesn't mean it's not going to lead the unit in receptions. I know they're not, but you get my point, right? It's one of those where you mention there's only so much oxygen in the room. And when you have Marcel, Craver, and Isaiah Horton, there's not a lot left over after that. And yet there's still more ahead of the tight end unit. And elite offenses in the SEC tend to have, and you don't have to have a first-team All-American tight end, but they have a money tight end. Because it destroys defenses. The second that the defense has to adjust for the tight end, you've opened up so much. And if they don't, your tight end is going to eat all day.
Yeah, look what Brock Bowers did when he was at Georgia.
Oh, yeah. Well, they could adjust for him. It still doesn't mean you could cover him.
Yeah, so to your point, you don't have to have Brock Bowers, but if you have Oscar Delp, who replaced Brock Bowers, then you can keep doing all kinds of things. That's like a good tight end is like a wild card. We're going to play poker, and the jacks are wild, and the tight end is a jack.
Make the defense have to respect the middle of the field. And I understand that OCs can use wide receivers for that, but when it's a pure tight end, because then you got to mismatch them too, depending on who you're going to assign to them. Tight end mismatch is brutal.
Well, one of the best offenses I ever saw in my life was the Cowboys of the early and mid '90s.
Yeah,
and everybody talked about Emmitt Smith. Even before Whitten, everybody talked about Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, and you had your quarterback, and you had the other receiver, Alvin Harper, and they were so explosive. But one of the guys that made a ton of big plays was Jay Novacek at tight end.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so, if you have that guy, now I don't know, I'm not saying A&M's going to have that guy, but I think that they have a couple of guys that can at least fill that role. Maybe not like Jay Novacek did, but something, a reasonable facsimile. Again, a guy that can get down the middle of the field, catch the ball because he's too fast for a linebacker or too big for a safety and make big plays. So I think I'm not saying they're going to be as good as Sternberger, but I think they can be Sternberger-esque.
I'll tell you what, I'll take that right now. Because Jay Sternberger was a part of the offense. He was a weapon in the offense. All-American, maybe not so much, but still a weapon and tool in the offense. I'll take that right now.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that they're going to be as good as he is, but I think they have qualities like that, especially Houston.
Olin, look, I know you've got another coach to get to. You're actually there to work, not just stare at boats and talk to me. Have an awesome time. Travel safe, dude. Look forward to next Tuesday already, and thank you always.
All right, thanks for having me, Louis.
Yeah, be epic, dude. Olin Buchanan of TexAgs, TexAgs.com, TexAgs Live, speaking of the word, right? Live from SEC Media Days on the D4 Land Services Hotline every Tuesday, a part of the Louis Bellina Show. Up next, we listen in Eli Drinkowitz from SEC Media Days. It is the Louis Bellina Show. You probably know that. On the Zone.
Listen to The Zone on the Zone app. Thanks to Loyalty Plumbing. The pros at Loyalty Plumbing are ready to serve you 24/7. 24/7. For big emergencies or small.
The Louis Bellina Show. I'm going to still go at Tuesday. Coming up, Community Spotlight. It'll be United Way of the Brazos Valley. That's about 150. But right now, SEC Media Days roll on. Eli Drinkowitz, Missouri head coach from SEC Media Days. We listen in together.
That was a rousing, loud applause that I just received there, so really appreciate that. It was great to be in Washington, D.C. People asked me if I had ever seen a place more divided. I said, yes, SEC Media Days with all the fan bases. We all have our own factions right there that we support. So it's great to be in Tampa, excited for another 2026 college football season, my 7th at the University of Missouri. Somebody just asked me if I could talk to the 2020 version of myself, what would I say to myself? I'd say you made it to year 7, man. Keep on trucking. Pretty amazing thing to be able to be thankful for. I do want to start out by saying I want to thank Marcy Girton. Marcy Girton has been my football sport administrator for the last 3 years and has chosen to retire, and she will no longer be serving at the University of Missouri, and she's going to announce it tomorrow, so I wanted to beat her to the punch and pull a Pete Thamel on her and, announce it to the media. But Marcy has been a faithful servant to student-athletes. She does it for the right reason. She's left Missou in a better place than she found it. She served at multiple other SEC institutions, and everybody knows that she is a class act when it comes to student-athlete wellness, student-athlete performance, and having the best interest of student-athletes. And so I want to say I really appreciate her in her life's work and mission in education, and we're going to miss her. And well done, Marcy. I'd also like to update y'all on Ahmad Hardy. I know that I've been asked a lot about Ahmad. and I did the very best that I could to save this update for the main stage. So what I want to tell y'all is this was a great opportunity for Ahmad to learn, and it was a great opportunity for our student athletes to learn. It was also a great reminder that there is no place for gun violence in this world, and that we need to do a better job of policing gun violence, not criticizing the police or the rights to bear arms, which is a Second Amendment right, but just saying that there is no place for gun violence, especially for our youth in society. Ahmad has been medically cleared from the bullet that struck him, and he is on the road to recovery. He did have the bullet did strike a bone in his body, and that has been fully healed and cleared. And today was his first day back towards a full recovery. We anticipate that he will make a recovery. What that recovery will look like after having a bullet, strike you is still to be determined. We do not know exactly what the return to play progression is because there's not a lot of literature and data on this, but we are utilizing our medical team along with our athletic performance team and nutrition to approach this at a very good pace. We do anticipate that this return to play protocol could take anywhere between 5 to 8 weeks, and at the end of the 8 weeks, we still don't know what his recovery will be from is he the same Ahmad Hardy that was last year. My anticipation and what I've seen, the way he's attacked his rehab, he's going to be a better Ahmad Hardy than when he was before. And I'm very proud of the way that he's approached his recovery. I'm not sure that his riding horses was part of the recovery protocol that his surgeon had in place. But hell, John Wayne rode after he'd been shot. He turned out all right. So Ahmad Hardy's trying the same approach. Now let's talk a little bit about Missou football. Our team is a combination of, I'm trying to read my own chicken scratch here that I wrote last night. It's not, the math ain't math in here. No, our football team is a combination of player development and talent acquisition. We have 54 new players on our roster when you combine transfer portal and freshman additions. Combine that with 115 players on our roster, you got a roughly 50-50 match of new additions and current culture players, guys who understand and retain our culture. So we're having to do a really good job of combining that. And as a head coach, you got to do a great job of reteaching the foundation and framework and culture of your program while also embracing the individual identity of every new player on your team. And we're trying to do that. Our 3 players that we brought with us today are a great combination of that. You got Nick Rodriguez and Jamal Roberts, who have been with us since their high school commitments. Nick Rod, although he needs to button that top 2 shirt, he's got a little bit too much chest hair hanging out for me, but that's his style. He's Argentina. I'm surprised he even showed up today with that loss they took in the FIFA World Cup, but he's managing to face that adversity. But Nick has been a really good player for us on the defensive side of the ball, and it's his opportunity to really step up. Jamal Roberts, who represents St. Louis, and a guy who had plenty of opportunities to leave but chose to stay and cement his legacy as the Missouri Tiger, has been an incredible player for us and a great leader and somebody that represents our state and the city of St. Louis, a heartbeat of the University of Missouri, really well. And then you got Caden Green, a young man who transferred to us, has been a 3-year starter, as a guy who's one of the best offensive linemen in college football, and a guy who represents Kansas City, Missouri, which is also a heartbeat of the University of Missouri. So for those 3 guys to understand our culture and be able to implement that culture with the transfers that we got in, like Chris Graves Jr. or Austin Simmons or Caden Lee, it's been a really cool thing. For us, we have the same mentality that we've always had. We want to have STP, something to prove mindset, and everybody at the University of Missouri has something to prove every day, something to prove that we belong in the SEC, something to prove that we can win at a high level, and something to prove that we want to do it this year. We've always been a developmental program, meaning guys who have earned the opportunity to have their star shine. It's their turn. Guys like Jalen Marshall and Marquise Graciel, Santana Banner, Langdon Kitchen, Darius Smith, guys like Tristan Wilson, guys like Jamal Roberts, guys like Donovan Alubade and Sean Terry and Demarion Folks, and combine that with great transfers, guys like Luke Work, guys like Elijah Dotson, guys like Chris Graves Jr., guys like Zach Owens, guys like Zyshawn, guys like Caleb Goody. These are guys that get an opportunity to come in here and create new roles and new identities for themselves. On the offensive side of the ball, I want to say I'm extremely proud of Dominic Giudice, or Giudice. Dom has done an excellent job transitioning from guard to center and really establishing the mentality and work ethic of our offensive line, and therefore the identity and the work ethic of our team. Dom has done an excellent job of making sure that everybody is bought in, doing extra. One of our core values is doing more than what's expected, and Dom is doing that with the offensive line. You've got guys like Caden Green, Curtis Piegler, Tristan Wilson, Whit Hafer, who have been here, Jack Lang, who understand Logan Reichert, who understand what it looks like. And then you've brought along the new guys, the transfers, Zach Owens, Luke Work, Josh Atkins. I'm very excited to see the ownership and the opportunity that room has to continue to move our team forward. Our tight ends, led by Alex Atkins, a new coach that we hired, with Jordan Harris, Brett Norfleet, need to continue to find ways to impact the game, and I look forward to Alex with Coach Lindsey being able to do that. Our running backs, Jamal and Ahmad, I believe are the two best 1-2 punch in the country. I think those guys are as good as anybody. But I think we've also got incredible depth there. I think you're going to really be excited about Zyshawn, a transfer to us from Houston Baptist, Malai, who's a transfer from the University of Montana, and some freshmen that will be able to contribute. Our wide receivers, Caden Lee, Donovan Alubade, Caleb Goody, Demarion Folks, Nashawn, Sean Terry, and freshmen, and Kendrick Lanier. I remember his name because it's not Kendrick Lamar, it's Kendrick Lanier. I think those guys will do a really good job of being a strength for Austin Simmons. Our quarterback room, Austin has been a tremendous addition to our football team. I love the way he's gone about his business, embracing his role as a leader of our team and a quarterback. I think his combination of Garrett Riley and Chip Lindsey are really going to be good. I also want to take a moment to mention Matt Zollers. Matt Zollers, the day and age in college football, when it's easier to leave than stay, chose to stay. When it's easier to pout than to buck up, he's done that. He has bucked up, and he's been a tremendous leader for our football team. He has challenged Austin every single day to be at his best, and I look forward to the growth of Matt Zollers, and he is a quarterback that can play at a really high level, and I can't wait to continue to watch him grow and develop, and I look forward to that room. With Coach Lindsey's leadership and his direction, with Coach Riley's coaching, and the rest of that offensive staff, I'm excited about what the offense can do. Again, the identity hasn't changed. We're going to be a dominant downhill run, vertical pass, and focus on execution. Defensively, we've got to continue to stop the run. We've got to continue to confuse, harass, and hit the quarterback. But a key focus for us is we got to be better in takeaways. We have not forced the amount of takeaways that we need to be an elite level defense. And that starts with rushing the passer, getting strip sack fumbles. As much as we affected the quarterback through pass rush last year, we didn't have a single strip sack fumble recovery, and that's something that's got to change. I feel really good about the position that our edges are in with Darius Smith and Langdon Kitchen, Jaden Jones, Dayton Hopkins, and it's really going to be about who is that next guy who can step up, and we've got plenty of candidates between K3, Malik Bryant, Calvin Tooley, DeMarcus Johnson. There's plenty of guys in that room, and with Coach Early's coaching, I think we'll be just fine there. Defensive tackles, I've already mentioned Big Grizz, Marquise Graciel, Jalen Marshall, Jason Down, Dante Simpson, and plenty others that will be in that room. I think we will do, we've been really good at stopping the run. Chris McClellan, third-round draft pick with the Green Bay Packers last year. I think he had the most sacks of any defensive tackle in the SEC, and look forward to that tradition continuing. Linebackers, we added Robert Woodyard, who has a lot of SEC experience, to combine that with Nick, JB, Dante, and Brian Huff. I think that room's going to be deep. At safety, very excited about Santana Banner, a guy who played quite a bit for us last year, Elijah Dotson, Trajan Greco, Kinsley Falston, and many others who can play in that room, and I look forward to what that room's going to be. That room has got 3 freshmen that I think can really contribute at a high level for us, and look forward to Jaden McGregory being a guy that can play early. Cornerback was a position of need for us last year. We went out and got a guy that has a ton of experience with Chris Graves Jr., has played more snaps than anybody at the corner position. We went and got Sione and Jaleel Florence from the University of Oregon. Got Nick DeLoach coming back, Jackson Gates, and several others. Jackson Gates is another freshman that I think can play and play early.
That's Eli Drinkowitz. That wraps up our listening. We had hour 1, Kentucky, Will Stein. Hour 2, Brent Venables, Oklahoma. That was Missouri, Eli Drinkowitz. And every day this week, every hour this week, another coach the Aggies will square off against. That's how we do SEC Media Days here on the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Up next, Community Spotlight, United Way of the Brazos Valley. It's the Louis Bellina Show. I know, I'm here. My name's on the title, okay? It is the Louis Bellina Show on the Zone.
Spend your late nights with Sports Center all night from ESPN Radio here on the Zone.